The story begins with a person introducing himself as Zio-en, a 21st century's programmer he met with an unexpected accident in an experiment. When he woke up, something happened to him and he transformed into a child. He thought he would have a peaceful life, but out in the new world, a UFO descended, which brought him a mysterious tool. It seemed like a virtual reality device. Through the device, he encounters the super AI system Alice. The device enables him to learn all sorts of skills like cooking, planting, chess, exercise, math, chemistry, etc. Now the boy yells that he's already Ice Guy Ed, so he doesn't need to learn such trivial stuff. Alice then sends him to an exotic world where a wizard asks him whether he wanted to learn magic. In a field, scorched with heat and sun, some farmers are plowing and reaping the crops. A man calls out to his son Zio-en. A little boy answers his father, and the latter asks him to call it a day and head home. People around him praise him for helping out his father at such a young age. However, Zio-en is not from this world. He was a 21st century's programmer, and due to an experimental accident, he died and woke up as a little boy. The place where Zio landed into be is in Europe and somewhat the Middle Ages. The Lord controls the village and the nearby villagers pay taxes to live there. However, Zio doesn't know much about this world but is learning bit by bit about it. Soon they hear a great rumbling sound and a flying saucer pass over their heads so swiftly that it catches them off guard. Later that night, Zio's father tells him that when their lord is not around then his wife makes the saying, so she has strictly prohibited them to go near the mountain until the lord returns. He emphasizes that the lord is their village ruler, and his order is absolute, and if not followed then the consequences are quite hefty. Zio's mother has passed away and he's living solely with his dad. Late at night when his father is asleep, Zio borrows the only valuable thing his father has, an old army horse having a great body and the greatest speed. Zio is quite confident about his riding speed and skills. Zio heads towards the place where the UFO struck. He found a black box plunged into the ground. He quickly pulls it out and is surprised by its durability because it wasn't damaged at all. Zio clutches the box and rides back home. In his room, he opens the black box and finds a piece of solar-powered panel. He's quite amazed because he knows that it came from China, from the future. He also finds another device that looked like a virtual reality device. He examines it but finds nothing special about it. Soon he presses a random button. There is a spark and lightning bolt. It seemed that Zio is traveling to a completely new dimension. Soon he arrives at a place where bluish-white light is flooding everywhere and a female voice welcomes him to her learning function lobby. The lady welcomes him to the many functions learning machine. Zio tries to feel his VR spectacles but is astonished to find that he isn't wearing any. He wonders if that place is a virtual space and the lady is a virtual human being. Zio knows that the 21st century has become really advanced but still, it hasn't reached to express itself to this level. The lady introduces herself as AI Alice and says that the place is the lobby space of the learning device. She then asks Zio what he's planning to learn that day. She says that she can provide any kind of learning skills. She adds that she could provide all sorts of tools and areas to practice and provide non-stop learning skills until one becomes proficient. She also helps in growing one's brain and increases body function. She then shows him the skill tree which perplexes the latter as he feels that the word's choices are endless. Zio wants to study planting, but Alice stars that it is third grade science, and for that he needs to pass basic science. Zio assures her that he has his foundations built. Alice then allows him to select basic planting skill. However, the system answers that the data for the selected choice has been lost, so Alice suggests him make another choice. He then selects basic mathematics, and again the system gives him the same message. He goes on selecting basic chemistry and basic fighting, but no use. Zio's mind begins to boggle and Alice tells him to wait as the system is organizing itself. The system then suggests Zio choose either morning stretches or Chinese chess. At first, Zio is reluctant to choose these useless skills, but then 10 hours later it could be seen that he's playing basic level Chinese chess quite skillfully. Alice asks him to move to next level, but Zio suddenly remembers something important. Zio frantically asks Alice for the watch, and when he sees that it's morning on the other side, he anxiously looks for the door to return back. However, Alice assures him that this place has consecutive difference learning, so he doesn't have to worry about the outside world's time. Alice explains that consecutive difference learning could slow down time and could change time to infinity. So although he stayed in the virtual hour for 10 hours in the outside world, it's not morning yet. Alice also says that he could change the time ratio to infinity if Zio wants to. Zio is all excited because that means he could spend more time and learn as many skills as he wanted. He then requests Alice to keep the time ratio to 110. However, Alice warns him that changing the time ratio required one's body and spirit to support it. Once overexerted, it will cause eternal harm to one's physical and mental health. She then tells him about all those threatening diseases he could get, which makes Zio shun his said ration and requests Alex to set a more suitable time ration for his body. Alice does a quick body scan of Zio and says that his body could sustain twice the time ratio. Zio agrees and tells her to let him out so that he could have plenty of sleep before going to work the next morning. Alice assures him that once Zio wears the learning machine, his body is already in sleep mode. His body would fully recover in 3 hours. Alice modifies his time ratio and then suggests beginner rank stretches in order to strengthen Zio's mind and body. However, Zio finds them embarrassing and wants to skip them. But Alice says that once covering the beginner's stretches, his time ratio could go thrice. Zio readily agrees and then Alice makes him do rigorous beginner level stretches. The next morning, Zio's whole body feels sore and painful, as he feels that stretches were a lot different than those done on school days. Zio ponders that since those stretches develop human potential, then he should be able to recover his body's tiredness. And then the magic happens. He's able to stretch his body in various positions without feeling any fatigue or soreness. When Zio's father enters his room in order to wake him up, Zio feels dizzy and tired, so his father lets him rest for a day. However, Zio is surprised that for a moment he felt all energetic, and now suddenly he is feeling all dizzy and sleepy. He decides to find his answers from Alice. He wears his VR device and reaches the learning forum. Alice exclaims that he has been working hard in the outside world as well. Zio is surprised at her knowledge, but she replies that there is way too much lost data, so she's collecting information. She reveals that from her collected information, she has learned that Zio's body function strength is the world's rare few, which meant that he could become a tough challenger that could survive strict conditions. Zio asks why he felt dizzy suddenly. Alice replies that if he exhausts his body in space, he could easily regenerate it in the outside world with a good night's sleep. However, if he does the same in the outside world, he won't be able to rejuvenate that swiftly. Alice emphasizes the time difference in learning. If he trains hard in the learning mode, then he would be stronger than an average person outside. She then makes him practice stretches again. She tells him that she would increase his daily quota for exercise every day, and until now he hasn't met the early stage requirement. She then makes him do push-ups with his legs bent at various angles. Although Zio is facing a tough time, in the end he feels that his strength and stamina are gradually recovering. Zio now decides to test his training effort, so he tries filling up a bucket with water and checks how quickly he could do it. Previously, in order to completely fill it, he needed to take 10 trips, as every time he was able to fill only half the pail. But now he could fill up the pail completely, so the number of trips has been reduced to half. He admits that his stretches are doing wonders for his strength. Zio sees his father carrying a bundle of logs with great difficulty, so he quickly rushes to him and carries the bundle all by himself like a feather and runs to his father's surprise. Days pass by, and with every passing day, his training quota increases, and his father is filled with gratitude that finally Zio has grown up and has become his right hand. One night, on his bed, Zio is wearing his VR machine. And through that, he's having a training session with Alice. This time she's making him practice standouts, and he's being trained to stand only on one hand. He excels in that, and Alice tells him that finally he's been able to do that after 40 days. Zio asks her if since his part 2 of the training session has ended, so can she change the time difference. Alice readily agrees. His time difference has been increased to 4 times. Alice is really happy with his progress, so she has decided to add a beginner level skill, which is beginner's chopping. She then asks Zio to hold the axe, which is not a regular axe but can project a weapon. Zio is reluctant to chop firewood, but Alice won't listen and produces a virtual firewood tree trunk for Zio to chop down. Alice makes Zio chop and chop until he's all hot and sweaty. He chopped a total of 765 firewood. Zio complains that he has been chopping for a whopping 12 hours, and even a 10-kilometer run isn't that much. Alice asks him whether he acquired more strength, and Zio admits that his body feels more powerful and is much lighter than before. Once outside, Zio realizes that not only his strength but his reaction speed has also increased. He then tells his father that he won't be coming to the field today. Instead, he wanted to chop some firewood for exercise. His father says that chopping firewood requires strength, and Zio is not strong enough. He surprises his father again by chopping the already present firewood in no time. His naive father thinks that his son has really grown up. Meanwhile, Auntie Joey visits him and brings some hot food for Zio and his dad, which makes Zio realize that she has feelings for his dad. But his dad intentionally avoids her because apparently he still has feelings for his deceased wife and Zio's mother. She informs him that her brother, Uncle Vinyl, is back and is recruiting a few disciples, and after passing the blacksmith exam has opened a smithy at the manor. Now the high-rank blacksmith is the second highest rank title one can get other than Lord, becoming a high-rank knight. So Zio tells Aunt Joey that he also wants to become a disciple. When his father learns about his desire to be Vinyl's disciple, He's really furious because according to him Zio is not up to Vinyl's level. Auntie Joey defends Zio, and Zio himself is very confident that he could become a top-level disciple. Both of them convince Zio's father, and his father gives in and lets him go with Joey. The following night, in the learning mode, Zio tells Alice that he wants to be a blacksmith's disciple, so where could he learn high-rank chopping skills? However, Alice discourages him from learning that skill because it isn't the same as chopping wood. She gives him a demonstration, throws a log of firewood in the air, and then expertly chops it off in the same position. The log falls onto the ground in a neat pile. However, Alice lauds him for deciding to become a blacksmith's disciple because not only it would improve his strength, but also he could achieve the status of a high-rank chopper. Zio is a little apprehensive that Vinyl might not accept him, but Alice encourages him that he had put a lot of effort into his training over here. The next morning, Auntie Joey comes to fetch Zio with 3 other disciples, and reassures his father that if Vinyl doesn't accept him then she would bring him back. Soon they both trot towards the manor and Zio finds it quite lively. They see a magnificent building labeled Blacksmith's Smithy, and a big burly man working with iron in a red heated room could be seen, and Joey refers to him as Brother Vinyl. The 3 disciples are really intimidated by Vinyl's barely appearance. Vinyl checks out each and every disciple and finds them okay, but when he sees Zio, he mocks him and calls him a monkey. He tells Joey that he's hiring a strong disciple and not a mere child. However, when Joey furiously tells him that Zio's banged his son, so Vinyl is forced to notice Zio because Joey really had feelings for Bangda. He then gives him lots of axes as gifts and offers to buy him tasty food at the manor, but Joey corrects him by saying that Zio wanted to be his disciple, to Vinyl's shock. Vinyl explains to him that he's too young and doesn't have the strength and stamina to be a blacksmith. But then he's compelled to give Zio a chance when Joey gives an eye signal. Vinyl asks the suitors to follow him, and the townsmen are wondering if they all are trying their luck because it's very difficult to pass Vinyl's exam. Vinyl then calls his prized disciple named Aida and asks him to give the prospective disciples a demonstration. He lifts up his axe and chops a heavy log into 2 perfect pieces in just 1 attempt. The others find it real amazing, and Vinyl boasts that this perfect chop is of the lowest grade and requires years of training and some techniques. But Zio is confident that he can do it easily. Soon, one by one, all 3 prospective students are called to give their test, and 2 of them fail miserably. However, the third one comes forward and shows his muscles. He then lifts his axe and gives a sharp blow to the log, but alas, the log is diced into 2 unequal halves. Then Zio comes forward, and reluctantly Vinyl provides him with a small that he could handle easily. Zio lifts up the axe and splits the log into 2 perfect halves. Vinyl is elated and exclaims that Zio is a natural-born blacksmith, and from now onward Zio will be under his training. 3 months pass by, and Zio even learns to grasp the steel sword grasp method, to Aida's surprise, which took him 12 years to learn. However, Aida also adores Zio because of his crafty speaking skills. Vinyl calls Zio to give him something special. Vinyl presents to him a special sword that his teacher gave him when he passed away. He exclaims that it is a magic sword. Zio is shocked because he didn't believe that magic existed in the world. However, Vinyl tells him that a former teacher was a famous craftsman who had a magician friend. Their duo created many magical weapons, and their fame spread to the whole empire. Vinyl continues that their source of magic is special and comes out from those 3 orbs dug out from a monster's body called Magic Core. The orbs are placed in the magic sword to unleash their powers. However, when Zio tries to use the sword, nothing happens. Vinyl reveals that initially the sword was destroyed. But when that craftsman and the sorcerer passed away, they left their magic book, description, and method of crafting magical weapons to be passed on to the disciple with the brightest future in the coming generations. Vinyl gives the whole set to Zio and hopes that he could unveil the secret of the magic sword. But no matter how much he tries, Zio is unable to figure out the iron piece of trash, supposedly the Book of Magic. But then, to his surprise, the piece of iron begins to change and illegible writing starts to form on it. But again, Zio is unable to decipher the words. Suddenly, Alice appears in front of him and says that he has used a lot of mental spirit power. Alice tells him that out of the 6 pages of the magic book, 4 have recorded energy changes. She adds that he has to learn the 5th metal page. She then displays that page in front of him. When he touches it, a web of blue light engulfs him, and he soon enters space surrounded by magical mantras and chakravyas. A halo of a wizard appears and inquires Zio whether he's the chosen one. The man assures Zio not to be wary of him, as he's the magic book's author and the creator of this magic space. Zio exclaims that the wizard is the former teacher's friend, and it has been 230 years since he passed away. The wizard says that currently Zio is speaking to a portion of the spiritual body's clone left in the magic book, as his man body returned back to the main source. He reveals that the stronger the magician, the longer they live. He also reveals that in this world only 1 in 1,000 has the potential to learn magic and become a magician, and even those who learn magic could reach only the initial stage. Only a few are able to become real wizards. However, the wizard assures Zio that since he was able to enter the book and was able to discover him, he has the potential to become a true magician. Zio comments that the reason he wants to become a magician is to live a longer life to the wizard's muse. The latter tells him to open his eyes and to explore the things he could become and achieve once attiring wizardry status. Even an apprentice magician will be viewed as the country's important resource, all respected and admired. Since the number of magicians is scarce, so during a war if one party has the support of a magician, the results could change drastically. Also, if a magician is willing to serve the country, the latter would use all the resources and capabilities to build a place for him for magical research and development. That place would be the magical tower. Zio is obviously mesmerized. Zio requests the magician to teach him the art of wizardry. However, the latter says that it seems that his spiritual body won't last for long. However, he suggests that the magical book Zio has is of novice rank, but it could help him cultivate for longer periods. The wizard slowly begins to vanish, and Zio keeps on calling out to him. He is then abruptly awakened by Alice. He narrates everything to Alice, whatever he had seen earlier, and expresses his desire to learn magic and to become one of the most powerful wizards of his time. But alas, he forgot to ask about the method to learn magic. However, Alice reveals to him that while he was gone she had the chance to analyze the 6 metal sheets of magic. However, Zio is surprised at how Alice was able to project those metal sheets in the virtual world. Alice answers that she made use of the conscious dig method and projected the things he saw and whatever was present in his memory. If Zio wishes to check in the future, he could enter the virtual space and check. Alice adds that she has been able to grasp the magic learning method of the former period through time analysis. However, she suggests that before learning magic, Zio has to increase his mental spirit power. When the mental spirit power would be stronger, then Zio could make use of 4 other metal sheets recorded methods to learn magic. She then touches a bright, blank screen and a huge yellow pictogram appears in front of them. Alice tells Zio that it's a very simple pattern to organize his mental spirit power. However, Zio must observe carefully as the pattern has to be moved accordingly. The next morning, Vinyl and Aida observe Zio working more diligently than ever as if the most important thing in his life is crafting. Zio feels that his physical strength is increasing through rigorous morning stretches. However, his mental spirit power shows no progress. Vinyl asks Zio to leave the remaining work to Aida and take some rest. He readily complies and once inside his room puts on his VR device. Alice exclaims that he has reached the learning facility quite early. Zio tries to challenge the magical pictogram in order to practice the mental spirit power because he failed before reaching to mere 60% in his last attempts. This time he uses high full strength and manages to complete the challenge successfully. However, Alice exclaims that now the second round begins and the pictogram's pattern changes to a more complicated one. With sheer hard work, Zio is able to complete the next round as well. Zio feels that although the challenges are painful but still every time he finishes them, his mental power is increased. Alice analyzes Zio and tells him that his mental spirit power has been increased to a normal human standard. However, it is still the lowest among people who have learned magic. Zio is about to faint when Alice tells him not to give up as he could still change professions. However, Zio asks Alice that if his body is able to handle it then he could increase the inverse time difference. Alice hesitantly affirms. Zio then asks her the way to obtain a 10 times increase in time difference. She answers that he has to finish the whole set of novice morning stretches. He then asks how to attain a 50 times increase. Alice answers he has to finish the second set's first part of intermediate morning stretches. Finally, to attain a 100 times increase, he has to finish a whole lot of intermediate stretches. 2 months after, Zio is able to finish 4 parts of the first set and Alice congratulates him that now he could increase 8 times the inverse time difference. Alice tells him that she has been analyzing the broken magic sword and has reached the verdict that Zio could use mental petite power to reforge the sword. However, a whopping amount of 200 mental spirit power is required for the purpose, and Zio has only 100 plus. She adds that if he could give 50 hours of mental spirit power training daily, then he would be able to reforge the sword in 2 months. Zio is grateful for Alice's presence and support as he begins to craft a magic sword. He is puzzled that Alice needs to recharge her battery despite being an advanced technology of the future. Alice shows him the blueprint for the sword and instructs him to memorize it. Zio is overwhelmed by the task ahead, but Alice reassures him that he will eventually master the craft with patience and determination. Zio admits to Alice that he lied about his readiness and feels intimidated by the blueprint. Alice listens patiently and reassures him that he is capable of achieving great things. With Alice's unwavering support and encouragement, Zio overcomes his doubts and fears and becomes a master of the craft. Together, they achieve anything they set their minds to with each other's support and encouragement. Zio, a young boy, has been charging Alice's battery for a month, improving his craftsmanship skills and earning praise from his teacher. However, he dreams of becoming a magician, not a crafter. His teacher believes he has great potential as a crafter and encourages him to showcase his progress during the upcoming novice crafter exam in Sai Town, where Stockton Knight will be visiting in 2 months. Despite his teacher's encouragement, Zio is conflicted and wonders why everyone around him wishes for him to become a crafter when his heart is set on becoming a magician. One day, Alice informs Zio that he has a chance to leave their current place and enter a large city, which could offer better opportunities for him to learn magic. Though hesitant, Alice insists that if Zio wants to pursue his dream of becoming a magician, he needs to impress the knight during the upcoming crafter exam, such as by repairing a magic sword. With Alice's encouragement, Zio decides to prepare for the exam while also trying to impress the knight to gain the opportunity to leave and learn more magic. As the days go by, Zio hones his craftsmanship skills and studies magic in his spare time. He becomes more confident in his abilities and starts to believe that he can excel in both crafting and magic. Finally, the day of the crafter exam arrives, and Zio showcases his craftsmanship skills by repairing a magic sword with precision and creativity. He also uses his magic knowledge to enhance the sword's enchantments, impressing the knight and the other examiners. His performance is met with applause and praise, and he is awarded the title of a certified novice crafter. With his success in the exam, Zio remains determined to pursue his dream of becoming a magician. He thanks his teacher and expresses his desire to leave their current place to learn more magic. Alice congratulates Zio on his success and encourages him to follow his heart. As the story comes to an end, Zio reflects on his journey so far and is ready to embark on a new adventure, leaving his current place. Alice is urging the Honorable Master to put his best foot forward if he wants to explore the border world. She tells him that he must use his full power and be his best if he wants to see the new world. Alice reminds the Master that he is not a noble and does not have a magician master to rely on. Therefore, he must rely on himself and perform to the best of his abilities. Zio, the Honorable Master, appears to have succeeded in something, and Alice suggests that he test his magic powers output. He seems confused and surprised that the blueprint is also a magic spell, to which Alice confirms that it is a magic spell. She tells him that when he is outside, all he needs to do is think of the blueprint picture and try it out. Zio questions Alice's eagerness to let him demonstrate the magic spell, to which she explains that she wants to collect all sorts of data regarding this magic spell. She reveals that this world is different from their original world, and she needs to create an accurate and perfect database, which also means she needs to collect more data. Zio agrees to try out the magic spell, and Alice tells him that its name is the lead shot spell. Zio is curious and starts to think of the magic blueprint picture. He can feel that his mental spirit power is being absorbed, and he can control the energy. However, he realizes that his mental spirit is about to get fully drained, and his combat ability is weak. He resolves to work harder to improve his skills. Alice promises to bring him an excellent format to improve his skills. Zio is surprised that Alice can change the magic spell and modify it. Alice explains the magic spell's principle, which is to compress air into a ball and then shoot it out. However, according to the principle, the lead shot's speed and reactive power are not stronger than bullets. She tells Zio that if he compresses air into a bullet shape, it can increase the power to the greatest. In summary, Alice urges the Honorable Master to perform his best if he wants to explore the new world. She offers to help him improve his skills by providing him with an excellent format. Zio is surprised that the blueprint is also a magic spell, and Alice explains the principle of the lead shot spell. She suggests that he modify the spell by compressing air into a bullet shape to increase its power. The conversation reveals the characters' interest in exploring the border world and their desire to improve their skills and knowledge. Zio had been dedicating his time to training his mental spirit power and had achieved success with an additional month of training. Alice had made modifications to his weapon, the Sharp Edges shot, making it even more efficient and stronger in terms of mental spirit power consumption. One day, Aida called to inform Zio that Stockton Knight was on his way. Zio was surprised to see the number of people gathered outside, waiting to greet the knight. Despite his reservations, he went with his teacher and met with Stockton Knight, who praised Aida's performance and promised to give him a shop. The knight also inquired about a new disciple, and the teacher pointed towards Zio. However, Stockton Knight thought that he was just a kid and did not take him seriously. Later, Zio and Alice discussed the lead shot spell, which she had modified to increase its power. Zio agreed to try it out, but he realized that his combat abilities were weak and needed improvement. Alice promised to modify the spell and increase its power. Zio agreed to work harder and improve his combat abilities. The story revolves around Zio, a young blacksmith with exceptional skills, and his encounter with Lord Stockton, a knight who sees potential in him. Despite being young, Zio's capabilities are not to be underestimated, as his teacher points out. This piques Lord Stockton's interest, leading him to challenge Zio to lift his big hammer. To everyone's surprise, Zio successfully lifts the heavy hammer, impressing Lord Stockton. After witnessing Zio's strength, Lord Stockton invites him to become a knight under his guidance. He believes that strength is the foundation of a warrior, and at such a young age, Zio has already shown great potential. Lord Stockton emphasizes that becoming a knight is the only way to raise one's status to nobleness, something he sees as an essential aspect of a fulfilling life. However, Zio is not interested in becoming a knight. He respectfully declines Lord Stockton's offer, stating that he is already his teacher's disciple. His teacher points out that Zio is already a passable crafter and questions why Lord Stockton is trying to make him a knight. However, Lord Stockton insists that becoming a true knight requires experiencing blood and flame, which he believes Zio can handle with his talent. Despite Lord Stockton's persistence, Zio remains firm in his decision. He shows his gratitude for Lord Stockton's interest in him but reiterates that he is his teacher's disciple. Lord Stockton accepts Zio's decision and leaves the blacksmith with a promise that he can come to find him if he ever changes his mind. The story then shifts to Aida, another blacksmith, who decides to show Lord Stockton his talent in sword making. He presents a sword that he built himself, and Lord Stockton is impressed with the weight, balance, and sharpness of the sword. Lord Stockton praises Aida's hard work and acknowledges that talent is not the only thing that matters. Hard work and dedication are equally essential. Finally, Zio announces his plan to repair a special weapon, which leaves the story open to further developments. The story highlights the different paths individuals can take in life and how these paths can shape their destinies. Lord Stockton sees becoming a knight as the ultimate goal, something that would give one power and nobility. In contrast, Zio prefers to focus on his passion for blacksmithing and improve his craft through learning and experience. The story emphasizes that one's journey in life should be based on personal interests and talents, and not solely on societal expectations. The characters in the story also highlight the importance of dedication and hard work in achieving one's goals. Aida's talent may be normal, but his hard work and dedication have made him an excellent blacksmith. Lord Stockton's interest in Zio's potential is based on his strength, but he also acknowledges that hard work and dedication are necessary to become a true knight. Furthermore, the story also shows how individuals can respect each other's decisions and paths in life. Despite Lord Stockton's persistence, he respects Zio's decision to remain his teacher's disciple. This illustrates the importance of accepting and respecting different choices and decisions, even if they do not align with our own beliefs and values. In conclusion, the story of Zio, Lord Stockton, and Aida highlights important lessons on the significance of personal interests, dedication, and respecting others' decisions. It reminds us that our journey in life should be based on our passions and talents and not solely on societal expectations. It also emphasizes the value of hard work and dedication in achieving one's goals and encourages mutual respect for different choices and decisions. Zio had taken on the task of repairing the magic weapon that his teacher had given him. The weapon was unique and powerful, but also damaged. The knight was surprised to learn that Vinyl, Zio's teacher, was capable of crafting magic weapons. Even more shocking was the fact that she couldn't repair this particular weapon. Zio was confident that he could repair the weapon using the residue from a magic book. This surprised and worried Vinyl, who knew the value of the book and the risk involved in using it. Zio proceeded with his plan, taking on the challenge of repairing the weapon. He focused his mind and followed the flow of the sharp-edged shot of the magic sword, using his mental spirit power to repair it. The knight watched with interest as Zio worked on the weapon. After a few minutes, Zio was done. He handed the repaired weapon to the knight, who was impressed with the quality of the repair. The weapon was no longer damaged and was even stronger than before. The knight praised Zio for his work and offered to take him on as a student to train him as a knight. However, Zio refused, stating that he was already Vinyl's disciple and was content with his current path. The knight respected Zio's decision and praised Vinyl for her role as a teacher. He noted that being a knight was not the only path to success and that everyone had their own unique journey to follow. Vinyl thanked the knight for his kind words and stated that she was proud of Zio's progress. She noted that he was still young and had much to learn but was confident in his abilities. The conversation turned to the upcoming competition, and the knight asked if Zio would be participating. Vinyl replied that she hadn't decided yet and was still considering the options. The knight encouraged Vinyl to let Zio participate, stating that it would be a good opportunity for him to showcase his skills and gain experience. He also noted that the competition was an excellent platform for young craftsmen to learn from each other. Vinyl was hesitant, but Zio was excited at the prospect of participating in the competition. He was confident in his skills and believed that he could make a name for himself in the crafting world. The knight wished them luck and left, reminding Zio to visit him if he ever changed his mind about becoming a knight. Vinyl and Zio watched as the knight left, grateful for his visit and the kind words he had spoken. As the day went on, Zio continued to work on his craft, honing his skills and perfecting his techniques. Vinyl watched him with pride, knowing that he was destined for greatness. Days turned into weeks, and the competition drew near. Zio continued to prepare, working tirelessly to create his masterpiece. Vinyl watched as he worked, noting his determination and passion for his craft. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. Zio was nervous but excited, eager to showcase his skills and prove himself as a master craftsman. The competition was fierce, with craftsmen from all over the kingdom showcasing their best work. The judges were strict, critiquing every detail and flaw in the creations. Zio's turn came, and he presented his masterpiece to the judges. They scrutinized it, examining every detail and aspect of the weapon. Finally, they spoke, praising the craftsmanship and attention to detail in the creation. Zio had done it. He had won the competition, beating out hundreds of other craftsmen to claim the top prize. Vinyl watched with tears in her eyes as her student was crowned the champion. The victory was a turning point for Zio. He had proven to himself and others that he had the talent and skill to be a master craftsman. His future was bright, and he knew that he had a long. After successfully repairing the magic sword, Zio impresses knight and teacher with his skill and talent. Knight admires the art and brightness of the repaired sword and expresses his regret at not knowing how to use magic. Teacher praises Zio's abilities and notes that he is talented both as a crafter and a magician. Zio confirms that the magic sword can unleash magic when its energy core is charged, and the user can control it freely. Knight congratulates Zio on passing the test and offers him a new opportunity to join the country's magic tower to train in magic. Teacher expresses his pride in Zio's accomplishments and leaves the decision up to him. Knight adds that Zio should also consider the relative prestige and potential of the two professions. Zio agrees to consider it carefully and invites Knight to test the magic sword. 3 days later, Knight and Zio set out for Louis Castle. Zio watches in amazement as Knight fights off a group of monsters with the magic sword. The sword glows with a bright light as it cuts through the monsters with ease, leaving Zio awestruck. Knight comments that the magic sword is powerful and that he could use it to protect the kingdom. He asks Zio to come with him to the king's palace to demonstrate the sword's power to the king. At the palace, the king and his advisors watch as Zio demonstrates the magic sword's power. The sword emits a bright light and cuts through a large boulder with ease. The king is impressed and acknowledges Zio's talent as a crafter and a magician. He offers Zio a position as the royal craftsman and magician, with the responsibility of crafting and maintaining the kingdom's magic weapons. Zio is thrilled at the offer and accepts it immediately. He thanks Knight and teacher for their guidance and support, and promises to use his talents to protect the kingdom and its people. Knight expresses his pride in Zio's accomplishments and says that he is honored to have played a part in his success. In conclusion, Zio's journey from a humble apprentice to a skilled craftsman and magician is an inspiring tale of hard work, dedication, and talent. His success is a testament to the power of passion and perseverance, and his story serves as a reminder that anyone can achieve their dreams with the right attitude and effort. The knight invites Zio to his castle. Zio agrees but says that firstly he has to inform his father. The knight accompanies Zio to his village. All the villagers, including Banjda, are astounded. The Stockton knight invites Zio's father and Auntie Joey to his castle, and all the villagers are shocked. The whole plan of showing the knight Zio's magical talent was hatched by Alice. Everybody was so emotional, and Vinyl especially crying when Zio was departing, and as a parting gift, Vinyl presented him with a hammer which was given to him by his master earlier. However, Zio considers himself as an outsider because he transmigrated from another world. But very quickly he became so attached to the people of this world and now doesn't want to leave them. But he promises himself that he would become a really powerful magician. 3 days pass and Zio is still traveling. Soon it's pouring hard and the knight orders for a camp out. The knight tells Zio that they have to travel in the Greenland for 5 days, and Zio assures him that he can manage. Zio notices that the knight is not taking of his armor even while resting. However, the latter replies that he still has to patrol later, plus the armor was made by Vinyl and he was having it for 20 years, so he's used to it. In order to express his gratitude towards the Night Lord for taking care of the country and for personally escorting him towards the castle, Zio presents him with his magic sword. However, the knight refuses to accept the sword because he says it's his duty to protect the citizens, and also adds that the magical weapon is very special, and someone like Zio must own it. Zio is elated that the knight is as upright as he could be, but he still insists the lord to accept the sword, as very soon he would be becoming a magician's disciple, and would be using a wand as a weapon. The knight promises that as soon as he would learn his skills, he would embed some realistic magic into Zio's armor. Later that night, when Zio enters the learning space, he hears Alice's panicked voice warning him to be careful, as someone was outside Zio's tent with an intention to kill him. Zio gets up abruptly and takes out the heavy hammer given to him by Vinyl. A person wearing a cloak enters his tent and Zio lifts up the hammer, but the person blocks his blow in his defense. The man in cloak attacks Zio, but Zio dodges him swiftly. They both battle with each other when the enemy snatches Zio's defense ability. However, Zio don't give up and keeps on making his killer moves learnt during the infamous morning stretches. However, he feels something strange when around that bizarre cloaked man, something like death aura. However, with the help of magic, Zio releases a bullet and points it towards the enemy's forehead. That bullet immediately knocks the man down. Zio is devastated because he just killed a man. Soon a chaos is created outside his tent and the Night Lord enters inside. He finds Zio terrified and pacifies him. Zio frantically tells him that he killed someone. He tells the knight how the man was trying to assassinate him since he couldn't defeat him. Instead, he used magic. The knight discloses to Zio that enemy might have come to kill him, and he knows who must have sent the killer. The knight says that by making Zio sleep in his tent, he put his life in danger. Zio asks him whether he offended somebody. The knight says that it's because he owns the manor and the surrounding territory. Zio confirms that the manor is so large that it could hold thousands of people. The knight then tells Zio his story, that the land he owns now was just a deserted piece of ground with no agriculture 50 years ago. At that time, his father was also a brilliant knight, who led his family and other citizens to that piece of land. It was the hard work and dedication of the people along with the knight's father's reclamation that they were able to create their own manor. Zio is surprised at how one could reclaimate an infertile soil where nothing could grow. The knight asks Zio to keep that a secret, and then he reveals it was because of magic. The knight explains further that his father was Count Cambert's subordinate. That year, Count Cambert begged the great magician Tishoni, who invented a farming technique to change the soil quality. Soon the Cambert entrusted his father to bring the technique to their barren land. After 10 years of hard work by all, that the barren land was transformed into Gong's country's food storage. However, the knight says that some people from the country's noble race envy them and are thoroughly jealous. The noble man is greedy for fame and has such great appetite that he wants to devour the whole manor. Zio asks the knight that why Count Cambert doesn't protect him and his people. The latter replies that the count has sadly passed away. However, Lord Duke, who is a higher-ranked noble than Count Cambert, used to respect the latter because Cambert was the Duke's teacher. However, the deceased Count's son, Count Fraser, is really weak and cannot affect the Duke's decision. The knight continues that he wants to live a quiet and humble life, but he has duty towards his people and family as manor's lord. Zio suggests to surrender to that higher noble, but the knight says that the latter is too greedy and wants the magical farming method as well. If Tishoni comes to know that her secret is let out to others without her permission, then she would hunt the knight down and get him killed. Zio has an idea. He decides to go the magic tower and to ask the great magician Tishoni to protect them. The knight is surprised at Zio's idea, and Zio says that could the great noble dare to offend the great magician Tishoni. The knight replies that no one could do that, as Tishoni is one of the 6 greatest magicians of that time. The knight says that why would a great mage like Tishoni care about a small knight like him when the position of a magician is higher than that of a duke. However, Zio says that he learned magic all by himself by learning from a magic book given to him by Vinyl. Also, he could grasp any kind of magic in a short period time. He thinks that his talents could easily attract Tishoni. Zio is doing all that for his people who are living in the knight's manor, as he doesn't want them to become sacrificial tools in the war. Soon morning arrives and the caravan sets out to travel farther. Soon they enter Lewis Castle, and Zio feels it to be more like a city than castle, as it is bustling with people. Zio ponders that compared to his previous life of advanced technology, this world is more suitable for peaceful living. Soon they enter an inn, and the count summons someone called Butler. Soon a big burly man comes in front of the knight, and they both have a little fist fighting and soon greet like old friends. Aida explains to Zio that Butler, the Lord, and Vinyl were playmates and have been friends since childhood. Soon Butler ushers them inside and asks them to leave their luggage to him. After a while, Butler and the knight have a little chit-chat, and the latter narrates to him about the assassination attempt on him earlier, and his plan to make Zio the magician's disciple. The next day, Zio asks the knight about the Magic Association's response to their request. The knight answers that the letter would reach the magic tower in 3 days. However, Aida, who has to give the crafter's exam, would get the reply very soon, as within 7 days he has to appear in that exam. Soon they are wandering in the streets when Zio notices some iron sheets with a street vendor. Zio approached the Night Lord for help in purchasing a treasure that he had his heart set on. The knight was curious about what it was that Zio wanted to buy and was more than willing to help. Together, they set off to the store where the treasure was being sold. Along the way, Zio explained to the knight what he was looking for and how important it was to him. Upon arriving at the store, they were met by a seller who was dismissive of Zio and assumed that he was there to buy toys. However, Zio corrected him and asked about the treasure he had come to purchase. The seller quoted a price of 1 gold coin for the treasures, which was an exorbitant amount of money. The knight was immediately outraged by the seller's behavior and accused him of trying to scam a child. The knight was not going to allow this to happen and was determined to help Zio get what he wanted at a fair price. The seller realized that he had made a mistake and eventually agreed to sell the treasures for 5 silver coins. After the transaction was complete, Aida, an observer, questioned Zio about the treasure and the reason for his desire to purchase it. It was then revealed that the treasure was not worth the amount that they had paid for it, and that they had been scammed by the seller. 5 silver coins were equivalent to the store's 1-month income, and Zio had made the Night Lord spend a lot of money. Despite the fact that they had been scammed, the Night Lord was not bothered by the expense. He believed that it was a small amount of money and that he was happy to help Zio get what he wanted. The knight was pleased that he could be of service and that he could help Zio achieve his goal. The knight's actions spoke volumes about his character. He was an honorable man who was not going to let anyone take advantage of a child, and he was willing to do whatever it took to make sure that justice was served. Even though they had been scammed, the knight did not let this ruin the experience for Zio, and he was happy that he could help him achieve his goal. The Night Lord's actions demonstrate that there are still people in the world who are willing to stand up for what is right, and who will go out of their way to help others. Zio's desire for the treasure may have seemed trivial, but to him it was everything, and the knight recognized that. The knight's actions show that sometimes it is the little things that matter the most, and that by doing what is right, we can make a big difference in someone's life. The conversation begins with Zio expressing their certainty that a magic iron plate contains valuable information. Zio's confidence in the value of the plate prompts Knight to offer insight into the pricing of magic-related items. Knight explains that such items are difficult to purchase with money and suggests that the plate could be sold for at least 100 gold coins if someone were willing to sell it to the magic tower. Zio senses a fragment of magical power emanating from the plate and wonders if it contains a magic spell or mental training method. However, when Zio tries to use their mental spirit power to test the plate, they feel a sudden electric shock and experience discomfort. Zio is surprised and concerned by this unexpected reaction, prompting them to quickly enter the virtual space to seek help from Alice. Once in the virtual space, Zio explains the situation to Alice, who suggests that the plate may be cursed or contain dangerous magic. Alice urges Zio to be careful and seek the help of an experienced magician to identify and neutralize any potential threats. Zio agrees and sets out to find a trusted magician who can assist them. This exchange raises several themes related to magic and its potential dangers. One of the key themes that emerges is the value and rarity of magic-related items. Knight's insight into the pricing of such items suggests that they are highly prized and coveted in this world. Another theme that arises is the potential danger of magic-related items. Zio's unexpected reaction to the plate demonstrates the need for caution when handling such items. The dialogue also highlights the importance of expertise and collaboration when dealing with magic-related items. Alice's advice to seek the help of an experienced magician underscores the importance of having the necessary knowledge and skills to identify and neutralize potential threats associated with magic. This theme also highlights the importance of collaboration and seeking advice from trusted sources when dealing with unfamiliar or potentially dangerous situations. The dialogue revolves around the discovery of a magic iron plate that may contain valuable information. Zio senses a fragment of magical power emanating from the plate and attempts to test it with their mental spirit power, only to experience an unexpected electric shock and discomfort. This prompts Zio to seek help from Alice and highlights the potential danger of magic-related items. The dialogue also emphasizes the rarity and value of magic-related items and the importance of expertise and collaboration when dealing with such objects. Zio approached Alice and asked her to teach him how to sense killing intent. He explained that he had encountered an assassin and felt insecure since, despite being invincible in the virtual world, he was just a normal human in the real world. Alice was surprised by Zio's request and asked him why he wanted to learn how to sense killing intent. Zio replied that he didn't want to rely on Alice to warn him every time and wanted to be able to protect himself. Alice understood Zio's concern and agreed to help him. She instructed Zio to go through a door to experience sensing killing intent for himself. Zio asked what was behind the door, but Alice didn't answer him and just told him to go in. As soon as Zio entered, a large man attempted to attack him. Zio was caught off guard, but he quickly tried to use his magic to defend himself. However, to his surprise, his magic didn't work on the large man. In a panic, Zio ran into a nearby house and began searching for a weapon to defend himself. Suddenly, the large man found him and tried to attack him again. Zio realized that he couldn't rely on his magic and decided to use his intuition to sense the man's killing intent. With his heightened senses, he managed to dodge the attack and used a nearby object to defend himself. Alice was pleased with Zio's progress and asked him how he managed to sense the man's killing intent. Zio replied that he had focused his senses and relied on his intuition. Alice explained that sensing killing intent required both physical and spiritual awareness. She advised Zio to train his senses and continue practicing until it became second nature. Zio thanked Alice for her help and asked her if she had any more advice. Alice replied that the best way to protect oneself was to avoid dangerous situations altogether. She also told him to trust his instincts and not to hesitate when defending himself. Zio left feeling more confident and determined to continue his training. He knew that he had a long way to go, but he was determined to become stronger and protect himself from any harm that may come his way. Alice greets Zio when he wakes up and asks if he has improved his sense of killing intent. She sent him to the training room to train, and Zio wonders why he needs to experience such a scary and dangerous environment. Alice explains that if he wants to sense someone's killing intent and hostility that is hidden, he needs to experience something similar to a scary scene. Zio is hesitant about the training but is reassured by Alice that the training will not put his life in danger. Alice tells him that according to her data, before joining the army, federal soldiers need to experience something similar to the training Zio is undergoing. There are no death reports in any of the cases. Zio decides to continue with the training because he believes that the earlier he learns to sense killing intent, the earlier he can guarantee his safety. 5 days later, the magic tower replies, and Zio is still asleep when Night comes to wake him up. Night tells Zio that they are leaving now, and Zio asks why the magic tower is built outside the city. Night explains that magicians are a group of lonely adults who naturally want to find a place to cultivate peacefully. As they travel, Zio is amazed by the size of the magic tower. After arriving, Night hands Zio over to a guide who takes him to meet Teacher Lun, the examiner for his upcoming test. Teacher Lun tells Zio that he certainly has magic talent, but unfortunately, his talent may be the lowest rank among all the magician apprentices. Even if he works hard to cultivate, he will not become an official magician. However, because there are still few people who have magic talent, Zio may stay at the magic tower's outer forest, do some chores, and learn some mental spirit power training methods. He can cultivate slowly and, when he becomes an adult, may grasp novice magic, which will be enough to earn a living. Zio is taken aback by Teacher Lun's judgmental attitude towards him, even though it's their first meeting. Teacher Lun questions the information that Night provided about Zio having already grasped magic. Zio shows Teacher Lun his magic, and Teacher Lun realizes that he underestimated Zio's abilities. He tells Zio that his magic is different and suggests that he might be able to cultivate a unique kind of magic. Zio is surprised to hear this and tells Teacher Lun that he will work hard to cultivate and become an official magician. Teacher Lun tells Zio that if he can cultivate a unique kind of magic, he will have the chance to become a top magician, and he will help him in any way he can. Zio is grateful for the opportunity and promises to work hard. In conclusion, Zio continues his training to sense killing intent, and travels with Night to the magic tower. There he meets Teacher Lun, who recognizes his unique magical abilities and offers to help him cultivate his magic. Zio is excited about the opportunity and promises to work hard to become a top magician. Teacher Lun is shocked to see Zio perform magic, even though he was initially skeptical. The teacher then decides to give Zio a chance to take the magic aptitude test to see if he can become an official magician. Zio eagerly agrees and takes the test. Zio spends the next few hours taking the test. He puts his heart and soul into it, determined to prove that he has what it takes to become a magician. Finally, the test is over and Teacher Lun looks at Zio's results. To his surprise, Zio has passed the test with flying colors. Teacher Lun is shocked and happy at the same time. He tells Zio that he has never seen anyone pass the test with such a low level of mental spirit power. He congratulates Zio and tells him that he has the potential to become a great magician. Zio is overjoyed to hear this news. He thanks the teacher for his guidance and decides to stay at the magic tower's outer forest to learn more about magic. Zio spends the next few years learning everything he can about magic. He studies under some of the greatest magicians in the world and learns new spells and techniques. Finally, the day arrives when Zio is ready to become an official magician. He He takes the test again and passes it with ease. Teacher Lun is proud of Xiao and tells him that he has exceeded his expectations. Xiao is now a full-fledged magician and is known throughout the land for his skills. He is called upon by kings and queens to perform magic for them and is greatly respected by all who know him. Xiao is grateful for the opportunity that was given to him and promises to use his powers for good. Xiao's journey to becoming a magician was not an easy one. He faced many challenges along the way and was initially told that he did not have the talent to become a magician. However, with hard work and determination, he proved everyone wrong and became one of the greatest magicians of his time. Magician Mo Lun is impressed with Xiao's magical skills. However, Xiao says that he hasn't excelled in the second magical spell yet. He tells him that after Alice analyzed the acid magic spell, he hasn't officially started practicing it. Xiao adds further that he has excelled in the magic spell Sharp Edge Shot. Mo Lun asks him to demonstrate his sharp edge shot on the table nearby. Before Mo Lun could boast that he had added some extra magic to the table, Xia had already carved a neat hole amidst the table through magic. Mo Lun is at first astonished, but he then composes himself and asks Xiao where did he learn such clean magic. Xiao shows him the metallic book of magic and gives it to Mo Lun. He says that his craftsman master has presented him with it. Mo Lun shook his head in disbelief that it was impossible for Xiao to learn the spell from that book, as he could sense that the record book didn't store that spell. Xiao spills the truth that after learning the spell he dissolved the record from the book. He then narrates the whole story to Mo Lun, who patiently listens to him. He then exclaims that Xiao used a record book as material to fix a broken sword. Mo Lun lauds Xiao for having immense courage at such a tender age. However, Xiao says that he cannot unleash the magic further because his mental spirit power doesn't allow that. Mo Lun affirms that Xiao's mental spirit power is so low that it is impossible to grasp any magic learning, so how did Xiao learn magic? He further predicts that Xiao's unleash magic proficiency has been trained over 10,000 times. Mo Lun continues that whenever one wants to unleash magic, they must imagine in their brain and use magic spirit power to create the magic's picture and circulate the energy, and each one attempt, be it a success or a failure, they will need to use the mental spirit power to create magic. Under such a situation, if a magician wants to master magic, the mental spirit power they possess has to be more than the unleash magic requirement, 10 times or even 100 times of it. Mo Lun is skeptical that the sharp edge shot Xiao unleashed seemed to form instantly. It's not something as simple to achieve by practicing 10 times only. According to Xiao's mental spirit power standard, the amount of time Xiao needed to reach that standard of proficiency needs at least a few years or even more. However, Mo Lun allows Xiao to stay at the place and doesn't ask more questions. He however offers Xiao to become his disciple. Xiao happily agrees, and Mo Lun gives him an official magician disciple position. Mo Lun then orders Dan Nai to guide Xiao to his room. Dan guides him that whatever he needs, be it food, clothes, or shower items, he must ring the bell and things would be delivered to him. Dan Nai says that he's just a learning apprentice and the magic tower has 3 types of members: magician, magician apprentice, and learning apprentice servants. Dan Nai reveals to him that before Xiao, there are already 5 apprentices of Mo Lun and all of them had extremely high magic talent. As time passes, they have an opportunity of becoming an official and true magician admired by people. He further explains that magic learning servants have magic talents, but their talents are not very high level, so they are usually looked down upon by magicians. However, they have 2 choices: either give up being a learning servant and try other professions, or want to try in life whether one can master magic and become a true magician. Normally, a learning servant lives in the magic tower's surrounding forest, where a few level 1 magic and basic mental spirit power cultivation techniques are provided. However, a learning servant after grasping level 1 or level 2 magic could leave the forest, and could attain a certain fortune in life because still, they are magicians in the eyes of the people. They could be in the army or mercenaries or even become adventurers. He then congratulates Xiao for becoming the 6th magician disciple, and learning servants could help with small basic things. Xiao could recruit 2 learning servants. After Dan Nai leaves, Xiao is relieved to become a disciple and achieve a place in the magic tower. However, he knows that things won't be any easier for him as there is a lot of unfairness in this magical world. The next morning, the disciples gather around Mo Lun, who then calls the missing one Da Wai. A voice comes out of nowhere that the person is busy doing an experiment. Mo Lun himself goes to a strange space to fetch Da Wai, a 3-star magician. They both sat facing each other, and Da Wai guesses that Mo Lun is all stressed out and has something on his mind. The latter says that he just accepted a disciple whose talent is really bad, but he accepted him because he unleashed a changed magic spell in front of Mo Lun. Mo Lun then explains about Xiao's sharp edge shot, which had a stronger power. The thing that makes it special is that after it touches the target it even has a burst function. Mo Lun tells Da Wai that Xiao self-learned it all from a magic book. They both discuss whether it would be suitable for Xiao to learn that magic. Finally, they decide that they would let Zio choose whether he wants to learn that kind of magic or not. Zio is lying on the bed thinking about whether to tell the knight about becoming Mo Lun's disciple when suddenly someone calls him to the 9th floor. Mo Lun introduces Zio to Dai Wai. Mo Lun then asks Zio to demonstrate sharp edge shot one more time, and Zio does so easily. Dai Wai asks him whether he knows some more spells. Zio tells him about an acid spell that he hasn't unleashed before. Dai Wai is surprised that Zio has magical power enough to cast just one spell every day, yet he has reached a standard that only a few could reach. Mo Lun then asks Zio, since magic spells have many types, which type Zio is planning to choose. Zio apologetically says that he has no knowledge about that and asks his teachers to guide him. Mo Lun tells him that although his talent is pretty ordinary, it seems that he has great acuity and affinity, and that is his talent. That is the reason he could grasp magic so easily, even when his mental spirit power is so low. So from now onward, that would the premises for Zio's direction of magical training. Zio narrates that under the two teachers' guidance, he was able to grasp the knowledge of magic. Like magic spells, power increases or decreases depending on the use of the magic power. Also, it's distributed into 10 levels. Even if it's the same level of magic, it's also different regarding magic power unleash. Even though the low-level magic difference can't be shown, once the magic power level increases, the gap will gradually increase. A high-level magic consumes magic power, but it might be lesser than medium-level magic. Zio continues that according to his teacher, he should pick up those magical spells that require less magic power, as they would suit him and better for his future development. However, Zio knows that he doesn't have any special learning ability. If it weren't for Alice and the learning machine, Zio also wouldn't have had the chance to practice more than a few million times. Mo Lun tells him that the type of magic Zio must learn is element summon type, and among all magic types, that type of magic is the strongest, and its magic power consumption is the least. Zio wonders that if it is the strongest magic power type and requires the least power, then why doesn't everybody choose it? Mo Lun replies that it has strict conditions. Element summon type is the most complicated of all. It needs to have a magician having a stronger learning ability. Dai Wai tells him that Mo Lun has done thorough research on element summon Taio magic for years, and even then he managed to become a 1-star magician. However, he doesn't dare to tell others that he could successfully unleash the element summon magic spell. Zio's teachers encourage him to learn that kind of magic. Teacher Mo Lun provides him with all the books and note that has theory and knowledge about element summon type. The teacher guarantees that Zio would love that spell. The teachers hilariously add that Zio must use his special ability to self-learn while learning about magic. Time passes by and Zio continues with his morning stretches with Alice and manages to finish the full set of beginner level. That has helped him to endure 10 times of the inverse time increase. Now Zio has more time and mental power to exercise mental strength and element summon spell training. Gradually a year passes by and Zio is summoned by Mo Lun. The teacher examines him and exclaims that his mental spirit power is still weak, but there has been some improvement, almost twice as much as it was when Zio first came to him. However, Zio is still exploring the element summon spell and Mo Lun agrees that it's very difficult and confusing. Mo Lun says that according to the magic book, the spell was born only in the ancient era. In that era, alchemy, who grasped magic readily, originally researched mechanics and other techniques. When he researched the structure of a living thing, the material wasn't there he wanted, so he tried another way. He picked a magic element as material. He used strong spirit and mental power to compress magic elements and finally created the material. But because of the magic element's specialty, the lament must be compressed in one take, if not then it would explode. But the hardest part about element summon magic is not the mental magic power, but the structure of the object, which is the actual element. Zio ponders that since the time he entered the magic tower, the theory of this particular spell has troubled him for so long. Just memorizing the arrangement of elements is a tiresome and painful procedure, and the most complicated part is the compression. Even if two low-ranked magic are being mixed and compressed, the power also won't lose to high-ranked magic. But to fully remember the steps and actions in detail, grasping it, and then perfectly unleashing it could be super troublesome and tough. That's why normal people won't even think about cultivating it. But Zio knows that he is not a normal person and has Alice by his side, so it's possible for him to cultivate it slowly and gradually. In virtual space, learning any kind of magic power won't require any mental spirit power. So with this uniqueness, magic proficiency is nothing to Zio. Zio has practiced that kind of magic countless timeless with Alice supervising him, so it can allow him to assimilate element summon type magic fully to his skill set. Unknowingly, in 1 year, Zio has been able to grasp 7 different magic spells, although all belong to level 1 of magic. But his current total mental spirit and proficiency, if teacher knew the whole magic world would be shocked. Zio claims that among the 7 magic spells, he has managed to grasp the element summon spell. One day when Zio is in his room practicing stretches, Dan Nye enters his room and gives him a letter from Serbia Manor. The letter was sent by the knight. After reading it, Zio feels he needs to leave the magic tower for a while, so Dan Nye tells him that he just needs to inform Mo Lun. Before leaving, Mo Lun presents to him a special golden badge of magicians that is a magic tower token. Excitedly, Zio comes off the magic tower after a year and heads toward Lewis City. As Zio flies away, people wonder whether he's a magician or a high-speed warrior, as he's also wearing a cape. People give the final verdict that an expert is an expert. When Zio reaches the gate of the city, some people respectfully tell him to enter the city. They all call him the Magician Lord or the Great Magician. The magicians are treated like nobles, so they do not need to pay any kind of taxes. Soon Zio enters the inn and calls Uncle Butler, who is overjoyed to see him. Zio inquires about the Stockton Knight, and the latter says that he is waiting for Zio and has been here for a week. The knight hugs Zio and cries like a madman when he sees Zio. Zio asks him how he could help him. The knight says that he provoked a noble called Count Rob Lynn, even though a year ago that matter was resolved and he seemed to have given up on magic spells. But the knight guesses that the count must have known that a magician disciple came out from the manor, so he didn't dare to act. However, last month he started to cause trouble again. Count Roblin has threatened the knight to hand over the magic spell, and he has hired a magic learning apprentice by using connections. Zio inquires whether that learning apprentice has graduated or not. The knight says that this person is a disciple of a 2-star magician called Creighton for 20 years. However, the apprentice's talent wasn't good enough and had no hope for advancement, so Creighton let him graduate. Zio asks the knight what Roblin is planning to do. The knight says that he has hatched an evil plan and wants the magic learning apprentice to have a magic duel with Zio. He wants to use the magic duel to decide the ownership of the magic spell. Butler is furious that how insane and unjust it could be, making a 20-year apprentice fight a mere child. The knight says that he's planning to hand over the magic farming spell as he's unable to protect it. However, Butler says that Magician Trishoni is like a god to their Lewis City, and if the knight provokes the great Magician Trishoni, he's inviting great trouble for himself. However, the knight says that he has no backup support or protection to rely upon. The knight assures Zio to appear in front of the count. However, Zio says how could the knight say that he would lose against the count? Zio asks them to inform the count that Zio is ready for the duel. The next day, they go to the castle and Count Roblin is eagerly waiting for them. The count greets them warmly along with the apprentice. However, Zio feels that the latter is staring at him fiercely and his mental spirit power is far stronger than Zio's. Both the opponents greet each other and introduce each other. The learning apprentice's name is Dai Lin, and when he hears that Zio is a magic disciple of Mo Lun, he feels a little apprehensive because Zio's position is higher than his. The count suggests that why don't they make a peaceful magic duel. They are shown 2 wooden puppets standing amidst a vast ground. Dai Lin offers Zio to have the first go. Now, although Zio has learnt 7 different spells, but with his current magic power he is able to use only 3 magic spells, so he decides to use the one he's most proficient at. He uses his sharp edge shot spell and casts such a powerful spell that it beheads the puppet in no time. The knight is elated and excited by Zio's great move. However, Dai Lin is skeptical whether Zio has been learning magic for only a year. Now Zio asks Dai Lin to make his move. The latter uses a level 2 magic spell called Wind/Sword that slashes of the puppet's head in no time. Zio ponders that Dai Lin's shot was more powerful than his for sure. However, Zio's sharp-edged shot was instantly generated, while Dai Lin's Wind/Sword required a few seconds to unleash. According to Zio, if it would have been a magic duel, then Zio would have definitely won. Dai Lin suggests to consider the first round of the duel as draw, and Zio readily agrees. Dai Lin suggests that he would start the second round, and again Zio agrees. Dai Lin creates a spell called Flame Burn Magic that readily burns the whole wooden puppet in one go. Now it's Zio's turn. Zio is a little intimidated by his strong opponent, but that was only for a few seconds. He then casts acid magic on the puppet, and a big balloon floats over the puppet and soon engulfs the whole puppet. Zio is not very satisfied by its effect. However, Dai Lin is sweating hard because Zio did it again as he released the spell instantly. He generated an acid spell that has a long unleash range but still has so much power. Dai Lin suggests to consider this round a draw too, and Zio happily complies. The knight is surprised by Zio's strength but is afraid that whether the count would be able to keep his face. However, he couldn't decipher from Roblin's expressions whether he is happy or angry. Dai Lin suggests having the third round, but Zio says that he could only unleash 3 spells in a day, and if the third spell is also considered a draw, then he has to use Magic Core to recover mental magic power. Dai Lin assures him that it would be the last round of the duel. Dylan creates a magic shield around the puppet and gives it a layer of magic protection. He then asks Zio to use a magic core to recover magic power. If within 3 magic spells, he is able to destroy the magic shield, he would be declared the winner of the duel. Zio happily agrees as always and decides to use his last spell first. Zio generates Fuse magic spell, in which he mixes various spells together and creates an element summon magic bomb, and thrusts it toward the target. There is a huge explosion. There is a huge blast along with massive smoke. The knight rushes towards the Count to assure he's alright. They all see in bewilderment that the place where the target stood lay a humongous hole and Dylan was staring at it in great shock. The Count good-naturedly thanks the Count for blocking sand and smoke for him. He then lauds both the Count and Zio for being the kindest lord and the great magician respectively and adds that their citizens are very lucky to have them. The Count sends them home with a lot of gifts and both of them return merrily to Lewis City. However, Zio brags that those gifts depict that the Count wants to make up for the demand he made earlier as he doesn't want to mess up with a magician like him. However, Butler and the Knight quickly hush him over. Meanwhile, Count Roblin is still pondering over Zio's amazing magic powers and discusses them with Dylan. Dylan admits that Zio's magic powers are excellent and if he works hard for a few years, then they have a great magician in the making. Dylan suggests that Lord Count shouldn't make enemies with such people. However, something else is cooking in Count Roblin's mind. In the beginning, details about the magic crystal are given, such that this magical crystal can store magic, which is mental spiritual power. The crystal came from world's magic monsters, since monsters have the quality to adapt and also to protect themselves. The people in the past with magical talents had started to research the skills of the monsters, and by learning the techniques of how monsters use magic, they gradually invented the sheer art of magic and soon become wizards and mages. In the past, people used basic magic to help ordinary people, so because of them the life of normal people became better and the magician class became the most revered of all the classes. Magicians traveled far and wide to gain more knowledge about magic. Once during such expeditions, the magicians hunted down a monster and were preparing it for eating, when suddenly they found a blue crystal known as the magical core nowadays. The magic core had stored energy that monster had accumulated during its entire life, and it could also recover a magician's mental spirit power easily. It is still not clearly understood what exactly is magic power. Is it mental spirit power or spirit soul power? It is predicted that the world naturally formed that energy. Gradually the magicians discreet themselves and another type was born called Tamer. The Tamer tried hard and tried to train a few friendly monsters and soon the monsters were tameable or kept as pets. Soon the monsters became human friendly and lost some of their wildness. However, nurturing and raising a monster couldn't be compared to the wild monsters, but the crystals they produce are very much in demand. Every month Zio is given a set of magic cores to replenish his magic spirit power, and every time he thinks that he would be able to use them wisely. And that's how the first part of this man ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a second part, comment below with the word part 2. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video. But most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.